Welcome everyone to Live at Lunch. You're with Vivian Evans and today's special guest, Linda Beaver. Now, Linda actually comes from health, education and media. That's her business. She's a director and she's got a fantastic topic that I think we all need, no matter what age. It's all about connecting and communicating with your healthcare consultant and making it work for you, which is our topic today. So Linda, welcome.
Thank you very much, Vivian. If you'd like to pop on that first slide for me, I'll get started on this.
Okay.
Thanks for being here today, everybody. And I hope that there will be an opportunity for you to move away from this presentation and think about what happens when you have your next healthcare consultation. The emphasis today will be predominantly on that medical area. So it's just easier to focus on that because everybody's very familiar with going to the GP. But really the essence of all this crosses over all boundaries of healthcare, even through to the pharmacist, even the optometrist, those retail style facilities, across into dental care, and including people in the healthcare shops, because they are often providing a lot of information about product that is specific to health issues. So the input today will help to, I trust, help everybody stop and think about what sort of dialogue occurs. And believe me, it's really hard to change the approach that we've been brought up with, which is to say, thank you, yes, I'll do just what you say, because that is still the culture of healthcare. The culture says, you've got a problem, I'll tell you how to fix it, you go away and do it. And whether we like it or not, that really is what it's all about. And from a healthcare perspective, the practitioner perspective, it's sometimes a little bit confronting for someone to say, well, no, hang on a sec, that's really not going to work well for me. And this is where it can be seen to be a little bit inappropriate even. And somebody recently has said to me, oh, I couldn't say no to what my doctor told me to do. And I said, well, did you think that what your doctor told you to do was the best thing? She said, well, no, it was going to be really hard for me to manage, but I couldn't say no, I couldn't do it. I thought, well, here lay the problem. And it's one of those things that's fairly well entrenched in the health industry, and we have to change it. And the reason we have to change it is because it's recognised worldwide that having a focus on what the patient can do, should do, and how best to achieve that for them is really the important focus of that consultation. And this is where that term of patient-centred care comes to the fore. Patient-centred care is a term that's been used in healthcare for over 20 years now. And you know, I was at a conference last year and I was sitting there listening to all these presenters sprout forth with patient-centred care, and we do this and we do that and we teach our students, and this is the focus of how we engage with the healthcare community and how we engage with our patients. And I thought, no, you don't. No, we don't, because no one's told us that we should be expecting patient-centred care. And it was one of those, you know, to use the catchphrase, light bulb moments. Oh, okay, maybe we need to think about this a little bit more. So I have to say it is one of those things that is complicated by the fact that we also have a health literacy issue that complicates it a little bit. But if I can have the next slide, please, Vivian. So while I don't really want this to be a PowerPoint presentation, I have got a couple of slides just to lead some of the content, to direct my thoughts, because I am quite passionate about this subject and can go off track. And so I figure I'm best off to have some prompts. So a little while ago, I developed a model called the Awareness, Respect and Action model. And this was specifically developed because of the needs of the community and the health communication and health literacy issues. But it is translated very well into the concerns of patient-centred care, and that emphasis on the person being the focus of the treatment, the negotiation and the discussion. during that health consultation. So the awareness is on both sides of the equation. We need our healthcare practitioners to be very aware that they need to focus more on the individual and not just the diagnosis. The patient, or the health consumer, as the term is now, needs to be very aware that they have a right to be able to say, I don't understand this. Why do I have to do this? The respect element comes to the party when we think about how this is implemented and how the conversation occurs. It's very easy to fall by the wayside and encounter frustration on the part of the healthcare practitioner who's saying, well, why do I have to justify what I'm saying? I'm the expert in this field. And that's quite right. However, that expert knowledge might not actually respond to nor respect the capacity or the ability or the knowledge base or the financial status or the understanding of the person getting that information or trying to manage their health care. So that's where the patient needs to say, with some respect, I don't understand what you're saying. I can't do this. I can't get to that appointment. I know from where I am, if I need to go to a major specialist appointment, I have a 2.5 hour journey in most instances. And as many people find surprising, we have no public transport here. So to get to Canberra, you have to use a car. Or if you go on the bus that runs 3 times a week from Jindabyne, you have to stay overnight because it only runs 3 times a week on 3 days. So those sorts of issues need to be considered when treatment is being advised or planned. So the action side of it comes to the fore when we look at how it all falls into place. So how is the healthcare practitioner going to consider us as the patient, and how are they then going to consider ways that the treatment they suggest can be modified to suit the individual? And we too, as those patients or that healthcare consumer, also need to be able to sit there and go, yeah, well, look, I understand, you're doing this in my best interest, but if it's not going to be a deal breaker, if it's not going to be a life and death, treatment or referral or consultation with a specialist, and I can't manage it at this point, can we postpone it? This is the essence of the conversation, the discussion. What's going to work best for the individual, and how can the healthcare practitioner, and we'll use the example of the GP, make it work so that it is in everybody's best interest with potentially modified outcomes, but something that's achievable. Certainly if it's a life-threatening situation, that changes it completely. But in many terms, particularly with chronic disease, we don't have the urgency and the it has to be done now requirement. So a little bit of care and attention can make the world of difference. Next slide, please. I'm not sure if you knew, and I certainly didn't know about this until quite recently, and I have worked in the health industry all my professional life, and that's a long time because I've been around a long time. I didn't know that there was a consumer health rights document. It's the Australian Charter of Healthcare Rights, and it's for us. It says to us that we have rights. We have rights to access of healthcare services. We have rights to safety in the provision of those healthcare services. It says that we should be shown respect. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the communication and participation, but it also ensures that we have privacy as part of that healthcare system and process, and that we are empowered and feel confident to make comments. So if things aren't going well, we need to feel that we can say, you know what, you really messed up with that, or that hospital room is not in keeping with my expectations, or even the food while I was in hospital was just appalling and something needs to be done about it. Our comments and our concerns need to be respected. So to just focus on the communication and participation elements of this, the communication in particularly states that we have a right to be informed about services, treatments, options, costs in a clear and concise way. And this means that as the patient, as the healthcare consumer, we should be able to receive information in an appropriate and timely manner, and ensure that it is relevant and presented in a way that's easily understood. Now, I don't know about you, but I've got a fairly strong background in health and I can understand most things, but there are still occasions where I think, what in the heck do you mean by that? What is this saying to me? And I've got to stop and think and go, okay, let's rephrase that so it means something to me as an average person. The participation element ensures that we have a right to be included in the decision making and choices about the care we have. We might have situations where the doctor says, you have to do this. You go, you know what? I just can't. I can't do this right now for a whole bunch of reasons. And we have the right to say no. It's part of the empowerment of this Charter of Healthcare Rights. Most importantly, it means that we should be given the opportunity to be part of the decisions that are being made, because it's our care and it's our health, and we need to be given the opportunity to take a lot of information on board to feel confident to make a decision that is going to work best for us. And once again, it's really hard sometimes to be sitting in that consultation room and you're being fed all this information about your health, the decisions that need to be made, the pills you're going to need to take, the referrals you're going to have to go and organise, and you just sit there and get totally overwhelmed. And that's not the best way to provide information to us, to enable us to go away and think through what our options are and how best to handle the situation that might be occurring. And I just love it when you sit there, you're totally bamboozled by terminology and stuff you've got to do, and you're getting fed bits of paper with referral letters and scripts, and you sit there and the doctor says to you, okay, so have you got any questions? And it's like, really? Now? How am I supposed to have figured all this out?
Yeah.
You know, and as I said, I've got a fairly good grip on it. So heaven help the individuals that find it so totally confusing.
And I think too, Linda, that there's the issue too that at the time, often if you're sick, that you've got that added stress. So therefore you're not taking anything in as well. So, you know, it's and you're already feeling potentially unwell, let alone the stress, or if you're with a partner or a child, again, that's the same sort of thing. You're worried about them, and you don't always take things in when you're concerned or unwell. It's a challenge.
Now, look, I had a situation, and this is not uncommon. I mean, friends of mine over the years have all said this. You go to the doctor and he says, you need to lose 10 kilos. And you go, yeah, sure. Okay, fine. Thank you. Yeah, understand. So this happened just recently. And I sat there and I thought, I've heard all this before. So the solution from the GP was, you need to lose 10 kilos, go to a gym. Sure. Great option. Thank you. And rather than doing what I should have done, which is say, no, that's not going to work for me. I don't like going to the gym anymore. I don't like having to squeeze into my acceptable active wear. I don't feel comfortable being around all the, you know, the triple T's, as somebody referred to them recently, the trim taut terrifics that get in there in their skin tight active wear. I can't afford it. That's a very strong option. I don't want to have to find, you know, gym fees in my budget. And maybe it's because I'm working at home and I live 10K out of town. There's no public transport, so I can't get there. I should have said those things to the GP at the time and said then, so what are you going to do about it? What else can you suggest? I didn't, because I know what I can do. But in real terms, I should have put him on notice, I think, that, you know, you can't just tell people, this is what you got to do, this is your option, go do it. There's got to be that consultation. So rather than me having a conversation, I let it slide. And I thought, you know, really this is just one of those typical tokenistic, well, I've done my bit. I can write in the notes that I've advised the patient to actually just go, yeah, go to the gym, lose weight, done my bit, tick that box, off you go. Where in fact, what it should be is, okay, Linda, look, I can see there might be some health issues here. Maybe we could have a chat about how can I help you with some eating plan advice, or can I refer you to someone? Is there something that you think might help? Or have you tried this in the past? Do you know what you think your health or eating problem is? Now, many people will say, oh, it's the sweets, it's the chocolate, it's the cake. That's not my downfall. My downfall are the savoury things, but that's a different kettle of fish right now. But there was not that opportunity to engage in a conversation. He could also then have said, you know what else? Maybe some exercise would help. Let's look at what would work for you. Right? Ideally, a gym's great, but that's not always suitable for everybody. Have you thought about walking? Is it safe where you walk? Or are there dogs around? Or is it dangerous to walk? Do you have footpaths? I live out in the country. Is it safe? Are there roads that you can, actually walk on, or is it dirt tracks? So that sort of element to the conversation starts to personalize it. And that's what patient-centered care is all about. It's actually getting people to think about you as the individual, not just what the tick-the-box solution might be. So ideally, that conversation could then go on to saying, let's think about how we can improve this maybe in the next month. Let's look at a couple of simple strategies. So how about you try and identify one dietary issue that you have? Say you like cakes. Maybe cut down your cakes rather than having a piece of cake every day. See if you can have half a piece of cake, or see if you can do something that will change the way you see your consumption of that particular issue. And see if you can start some exercise in some way, whatever it is that you might like to try. Let's work with that. So I think that what we need to do is work out a bit of a plan. So how's this? Come up with an idea, write it down, and I'll see you in a month. And on that basis, the GP is then opening up the opportunity for the two of you to start this conversation, to enable you to communicate in a way that's going to work for both of you to achieve some goals. And that's what, coming up with a treatment plan is all about. What it does is it recognizes there's a problem. It avoids unconscious bias, because believe you me, that's a very big issue. It explains why a particular course of action might be necessary. It helps you to formulate some strategies to achieve a goal and puts a time frame and some reasonable objectives in place. That doesn't have to take long, but we understand that time constraints can be a bit of an issue in a consultation, and it is a bit about time and money, because if you have these conversations, then it takes longer, which means that someone's going to have to pay for the longer consultation fee, but that's something that can be negotiated with your GP. So if you can go to the next slide for me, please, Vivian. So what this gets down to is the basics of communication. Healthcare is full of gobbledygook. It's full of terminology. It's full of jargon. It's full of itises and ologies and all sorts of complicated big words, right? But what we need to do is bring it down to plain language. And unfortunately, that's not something that health does very well. So if you're struggling with the language and the words and the communication from your GP, say, hang on a second, I don't understand this. You need to make it simpler. And that is not a reflection on you as being incompetent in any way. What it's saying to the GP is, you're not explaining this very well. You're not, in fact, giving me the information I need. And there's a strategy called the teach-back method. And healthcare practitioners need to learn the teach-back method so that it enables them to get their script, if you like, in order, so that people can understand what is being said, because it can be very difficult at times to get the words phrased in a way that is meaningful. And we all understand things differently. The classic situation, a friend commented to me one day and said, it's like going into a meeting and your manager sits there and says, right, the cat sat on the mat. And you all walk out and someone says, yeah, that brown cat was sitting next to the mat. And someone else says, no, it was a black cat and it was sitting on the mat. And someone else says, No, that's not what I heard. I heard that there was a cat that was coming into the room and was going toward the mat. And this is what happens with communication. At the time, our minds are wandering, and sometimes we don't always get the gist of what's being said. So let's go on to the next slide, I think. Thanks, Vivian. So one of the things I'm doing at the moment as part of my Empowering Health Consumers project is developing some simple resources that help people identify ways in which they can take a little bit more responsibility for asking questions and getting the information that might not automatically be fed through during that consultation. And one of the things I've come across is the difficulty of understanding the medication issue. So I've put up on the screen here just 5 of my top 10 medication matters, which I think are appropriate for us all, young or old, to be factoring into the conversation if a medication is being prescribed. And I'm using this as an example of being an aware patient, taking action in a respectful way. So this is our responsibility as the patient and the consumer to say, is this going to be a forever medication? Does it mean I've got to take this for the rest of my life? How much is it going to cost me? Are there any side effects? And can I stop taking it if I get better? Because often people just do, especially with blood pressure medication. That's fairly notorious. And with antibiotics. Oh, yeah, look, I'm feeling fine now, so I don't need to keep taking it. Or is there anything special I need to do, such as take it with food? And I keep harping on and referring to my own experiences, which is wonderful because I can really personalize this without drawing on many, many other experiences from people that I talk to. But I just recently was prescribed a medication and I'd been taking it for many months, got a renewal of the script, was going up to Sydney, thought I'll get the script filled in Sydney. I got it filled in Sydney, and when I looked at the sticky label on it, it said, take with food. I thought, oh, that wasn't on the other packet, I'm sure, because I never take it with food. It's one of those things, I get up in the morning, take the damn thing, otherwise I'll forget, and it'll be midday and I haven't taken the medication. So it doesn't get consumed with food. So I looked at the last packet. Sure enough, nothing on that packet said, take with food. So I went back to the pharmacist where I had that original script dispensed. And I said, can you tell me whether I'm supposed to take food with this? He goes, yeah. Okay. So how would I have known that? Oh, well, it will be on the packet or on the information inside the box. I go, yeah, have you tried to read that? I said, you're a pharmacist. It might make sense to you. But that tokenistic, tightly folded up piece of paper with size, font size 7 or something equivalent is not easy to read nor understand. So should I take this medication with food? And he said, yes. He said, but not for the usual reasons. The usual reasons are because it might make you feel nauseous if you don't take food with a medication. He said, but this particular medication, yep, you need to take it with food because it helps it work faster. I said, okay. So here I have the packet I have been getting from you previously, and here I have the packet that I got when I got the script filled in Sydney. Spot the problem. And he was quite embarrassed, and he said, well, that shouldn't happen. I go, okay, well, it has. So that's why I strongly encourage everybody in that situation to ask. If you're getting a medication, ask whether you should take it with food, before food, after food. And if it's after food, how long after food? And should you take it with other things as well? So an over-the-counter medication. It's all these little bits of information that just get lost in the system. So I'm a strong believer in having this available to us, so we can all start to take a little bit more respectful action as aware patients on what we need to be doing to overcome any potential problems. So if you could just go to the next slide for me, thanks, Vivian. This is one of my favourite quotes, and we use it in scouting, and I'm sure the guide leaders here will use it as well. It's that, learning by doing. And while it's not specific to the health industry, I really think it says something quite important. Tell me and I'll forget. Yep, guarantee that. teach me, and I might remember it until I need to use it the next time and then have forgotten it, but involve me and I learn. And that's really very powerful and really sums up what we need to be doing as consumers to make sure that we are involved in the conversations about our health so that we can learn and we can ask for resources. We can ask for more information that's appropriate to us and our individual needs and abilities to make sure we contribute and get the most out of the health care system. I could go on for ages on this topic, but I suspect I'm about out of time. So I'll just finish by saying I'm happy to answer any questions and I'm happy to enter into conversation at a later date with anybody. Vivian's more than welcome to circulate my email address as part of this as a follow-up. But this is just the tip of so many elements of the health communication system that, you know, I'm really getting involved in right now. So thanks, Vivian, for giving me the chance to be a part of your Live at Lunch.
Yes, and look, thank you so much, Linda. There's just so many great ideas, and you're going to be coming with more. And I'm going to share, because you're coming to Barradine, and
Yes.
So we'll have that opportunity for you to speak more deeply to people that are coming to Barradine if you come to the Rural Woman, the Full Bloom event. And I also, your conversation struck with me when you were talking earlier on about the gym and stuff, that I've picked this up. It's called Get Healthy.
Yes.
And that's a free coaching program and it's fabulous, and it's via phone, and as well as, you know, you can have even text messaging, but phone, and you get call in and you plan your own. So it's all free. And I've got these planning books, which I didn't actually use, but I love the coaching, and I chose what I wanted to change. Yes. And they coached me through it. So it was really fabulous. Now, there are a few people typing in the text chat, and I'll just see. Okay. So Sheridan, and look, people, feel free to take the mic if you want. So I'll read out what Sheridan's written. She said, love your encouragement to speak up, trying to share those questions onto my mobile phone so I have them on hand when sitting in front of the doctor. Yeah. We're going to share those questions because, Linda, you're going to give me the copy of those questions that I'm going to email out. So everyone who's recorded and registered with Live at Lunch, that will be added. So you'll have those that you can print or do. But on your phone's a great idea. Actually, you've got some fabulous ideas, Linda, just all round for... There's only so much we can talk about in half an hour, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
Sheridan, did you want to speak?
I was just wanted to say thank you very much for that, because sometimes I forget. And if I've got it on my phone, I can ask those questions, because I'll just take the prescription and then wonder about it afterwards, which is not very effective. So thank you.
No, we all do that, Sheridan, don't worry. And I've got to the point now where I keep them on my phone. And look, I've done it too. I go in, I get a script and I walk out and I think, I should have asked those questions. So even though I'm here sprouting forth with all these wonderful ideas, I fall by the wayside and don't take as much ownership as I should, but I'm learning. And I think the more we all practice being a little bit more forthright, the easier it will become. And hopefully the healthcare practitioners will start to go, okay, I might need to pick up my act a bit here and not treat everybody with the do as I say approach, you know. And I really believe that with the interaction I've had with the health professions and the health industry, there's a real block of, well, you know, we have to do what we do and we're the experts, rather than that more collaborative approach. And I really think that the consumers can be a driving force. So we as patients can start to ask those questions and make people sit up and take notice that they have a responsibility to give us the information we require to make an informed decision.
I love those 3 pointers that you came up with at the start, Linda, which is sort of the basis of what you're trying to bring together. That awareness, respect, and then action. And I think if you don't have that respect, you know, for the patient, then that action is not necessarily going to take place if, as you said, if they don't understand the situation the person
That's right.
did. They could be on their own where they can't bandage, you know, reapply a bandage because they've got no one. It could be all sorts of things. And so it needs to then, if you have that discussion, you then get a better outcome for your patient.
Oh, look,
and as a doctor, you get a better outcome.
An elderly friend of mine up in Sydney had a fall getting off a bus a few months ago, and she ended up in the emergency department at one of the major hospitals, and she had badly sprained wrist and a knee, and her back was very sore, and she'd had a fractured rib. And when they said to her, okay, well, look, this is what you've got to do, bye. That was it. Nobody asked her, do you live alone? Can you get home? Yeah. Is there anything we need to put in place to help you? No questions asked. At no point did that next stage in the continuum of healthcare come into the equation. And it's appalling. You know, I said to her, oh my God, this is just so dreadful for you. How did you manage? And she said, well, I rang someone. It was another friend of ours, and she came and got me. And then I sort of just struggled at home. And I thought, that's where it's wrong. You know, we don't think about the individual. And that's the problem.
Yeah. So, and it comes back to respect and dignity of the patient.
It is.
Particularly in that case.
Yeah.
Now there's a few I've had. Kim's got here. Do you think with younger professionals that this is changing?
I would like to think so, but not at this point, because the reality of the consultation process, whether it's a GP or a physio, your podiatrist, the practice nurse, it's time and money, you know, because they're so intertwined that consultative time is not always factored in. Now, it's supposed to be. Having said that, I did have a conversation with a GP, a rural GP, just recently, and she's a younger practitioner, and she said, when I prompted her with some questions, she was happy to sit and provide me with extra information. But until that time, it wasn't exactly forthcoming. But when prompted, she sat there and said, yeah, you know, we really do need to allow you to ask more questions and be a stronger part of the process. So I think it will change with the younger practitioners, but certainly the older school are very much I'm the expert, and I've got a brother who's a doctor. Oh my God, he would no more think of allowing a patient to challenge his decision than fly. Oh, goodness me, no. You know, and that's one of the cultural elements that we will fight.
Yeah, I suppose it comes down to the individual, doesn't it? I've now got a young pharmacist, and he is just so adamant and on the ball. Have you had this before? Do you know what you're doing? And actually it picked up for me something that I'd been taking my medication wrong and found out that I shouldn't be having a cup of tea with it. So because it was binding with the medication. So, and I'd been taking it for so long, I hadn't realised. So there's lots of little, I think the generation gaps, you know, they can vary depending on the personality of the person.
Yes.
Pauline has mentioned, I think that in country situations, things probably are a bit better than being right in the city. But then I suppose your example was the flip of that, wasn't it, in terms of the packaging? Yeah. And Sheridan said, I just changed doctors because I moved to a new location. And when I asked my doctor to send my medical history, they said it would cost me $30 to get the full record. So if you're in the process of moving, those costs can be a challenge.
Okay, but if you're registered on My Health, everything's there. And that's a free service through the government. So your, Sheridan, was it, your medical records with your new GP, they would be readily available. So if you can wend your way through the convoluted website that is the My Health website and register, and if you go through that, your records will be electronically accessible by anybody that you give permission to have access to.
Wow.
So that is a benefit, but that's a bit raw to be charged that amount of money. Yeah. And but your GP should be saying, or the practice receptionist should know that it's all done electronically now. There's no reason why you can't have that access.
Excellent.
So that's currently an automated thing. That's,
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Yeah,
And I'll just add that Get Healthy, see that number, 1300
Yes.
806 258. You don't need a referral. And it's Get Healthy if you look on the website. It's funded by the New South Wales government.
Hello, how are you?
Fantastic.
So, yeah, so it's
just been, listening in at Live at Lunch.
yes. Oh, I just want to share one. I've had someone come to the door and it looks pretty exciting. Come on in, Kira. And I just want to share one thing with you, and before we finish off, because this is pretty important. I'm going to share my screen, and we have the Full Bloom event that's coming up on the 17th of March. Really encourage you to have a look. We've got Linda is one of our guest presenters, and you can register on, you can have a look. If you follow the link, you'll get information about any one of the workshops, and there is more here. Obviously, from our conversation today, Linda, we've had so much discussion and generation, and I really think it's such a valuable thing for us to be aware of. So really, yeah, check it out. So it's on vivianevans.com.au, and you'll see the Full Bloom event at the top of the session. So Linda, thank you so much for sharing here today at Live at Lunch, and for coming from Jindabyne to Barradine to do that as well. So that's it's super exciting. So thank you again. So much to learn.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. All right, well, have a great day, everyone. And I've got special guest. Come on in, Kira. And I'll stop sharing my screen.
Oh, some flowers to say thank you.
Look what I've just been presented with. How beautiful.
Oh, they're lovely.
Thank you, Kira. We've been to a yoga class last night, and it was super successful, and Kira ran it, and it was totally awesome. And Kira is going to be one of our guest presenters very soon at Live at Lunch. She's going to lead us with a sound bath. We call it Yoga Nidra.
Yep.
So she's going to be on the last Thursday of this month. So it's exciting. So we've got some other ways to share and get healthy. And so I had some of that first experience with the sound bath, and it was just incredible. I could feel it through my body at the end of the yoga.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you another week at Live at Lunch. Next week's International Women's Day. I'm not going to be hosting the actual event here. We can participate in that, so I'll send that in through the email, the automated email. So make sure you get to that. So that's actually, I can share one more time. Let's get to it. Share the screen. And it's this one here. So it's theruralwoman.com.au/IWD for International Women's Day 2018. And I'll share that link. But you will need to register that to secure your seat. And it's all about how to have uncomfortable conversations so that we can gain confidence. And I suppose it really connects in really nicely with what Linda's been presenting today. You may feel uncomfortable talking to your practitioner, but it's so worth it because you grow in the process and are a lot healthier. Fabulous. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Vivian. Bye.